Good morning. Good morning. Home for the Summer, sung by Ray LaMontagne. I think that song perfectly sums up the cry of a weary soul. I am tired, tired. Can I come home for the summer? I could slow down for a little while. Get back to loving each other and leave all those long and lonesome miles behind. Who can relate to that song? Who can relate to that? I'm tired, so tired. And I don't know if you've had a crazy week like I've had. You throw a holiday in the middle of the week, and it's supposed to be relaxing, but it's not relaxing. I do want to, as always, thank the Smithburgers for opening up their home. It was a wonderful party, and Jeremy got to experience a little bit of what it takes to host a church party, namely 2 days of yard work ahead of time. I know when I got there on trying to get there early to help him, and I said, "How you doing?" And he said, "I'm tired, so tired." And I said, "I understand, I know." Busy life, busy at work, busy in life, just busy in general. And it can be overwhelming. We're busy all the time, and we're always longing for moments of rest. Maybe you can relate. Maybe you can just relate to being worn out in general. Worn out from heartache, perhaps emotions. Lots going on. Amanda shared this morning. You never know what's happening around you. Life is happening at 90 miles an hour. She thought they were filming some kind of cool video. She was all happy and smiling. She's like, "Oh, we're going to be in this movie." No, it's just them videoing, a shoplifter to report him to the police. Worn out, tired. How often have you found yourself on that precipice? Patience is gone, stress is high, and you feel like the lid is about to blow off that pressure cooker that's inside of you. Demands. I like the old Calgon commercial, right? Kids are screaming and everybody's, and the woman just stands there and says, "Calgon, take me away." And then she's magically transported to the bathtub with sudsy bubbles around, and it's relaxing. I've never taken a Calgon bath. I don't know if it works that well, but I don't even know if they make Calgon anymore, truthfully. But I certainly haven't seen the commercials in a long time. Calgon, take me away. Pastor Spencer Hoffman tells an exciting true story about the great tuna run of 1998. The story begins with the tuna running only 30 miles off of Cape Cod. What made that such an exciting run that it hadn't happened in over 47 years. And the tuna were not only running, but they were also biting. It was a fisherman's dream. All you needed was a sharp hook and some bait you can haul in a bountiful catch and potentially make some money. Rumor had it that the Japanese buyers were willing to pay up to $50,000 for a nice bluefin tuna. But there was one problem. Atlantic bluefin tuna can exceed 900 pounds, which is a weight that could be a problem if you're not an experienced fisherman. And surprising as it may seem, not every fisherman is experienced or an expert, although they talk like they are, right? Some of these non-experts found themselves in trouble during the great tuna run of 1998. You see, tuna are quite powerful fish. It's easier to hook one than it is to reel it into your boat, especially if you snag a 900-pounder. This was a problem on September 23rd of 98 when so many inexperienced fishermen ignored Coast Guard warnings and headed out to sea in small boats. One such boat, the Christiane, was a 19-footer. It capsized while doing battle with the tuna. Another boat, to the Basic Instinct, suffered the same fate. Another boat, a 28-footer named Official Business, was totally swamped after it hooked into a 600-pound tuna.
Wow.
The tuna literally pulled the boat underwater.
Whoa.
Pastor Hoffman recalled, he said, "These fishermen underestimated the power of the fish that they were trying to catch." And then he adds this warning: "This is what the cares of the world can do to us."
Wow.
It can take us by surprise. While it looks manageable on the surface, only after we hook into it do we discover its strength. And by then it's too late. And and we find ourselves being pulled underwater. I'm tired. So tired. I think I want us to ponder for a moment this morning. What do we have our hooks into that keeps dragging us underwater? Oftentimes, they're not bad things, right? I mean, we always think of all the sins of the world that so easily ensnare us and entangle us. And there is that. We all struggle with those things. But there are other things in our life that just pull us under. I mean, how many have commitments every night of the week, whether it's something at work or something at school, or you're trying to do this, or you're trying to accommodate this, or whatever. I mean, those of you that have kids and try to put them in multiple extracurricular activities know what it's like to be, okay, I've got 30 minutes to drive them and drop them off here, then I'm going to be back on this side of town and pick them up over here. And I mean, it's a lot. And it can overwhelm us. Good things and good intentions can oftentimes pull us underwater just as quickly, maybe even more quickly, than those things that are trying to ensnare us and trying to entangle us, that we are focusing on trying to avoid, while letting the other things, the cares of life, pull us under. Zap our strength. Take all of our attention. What are we to do? Where are we to turn when we feel tired? When we feel overwhelmed? It's kind of like this. Once there was a church that had an organ that many had sweated and sacrificed and enslaved in order to buy. And the cost was astounding. But when people heard its tone and sat under the influence of its quality, they believed that the cost was worth it. It was a special musical instrument, and it was to serve God and man for many decades. But what happened? What will happen when something goes wrong with this beautiful organ? Who will be called in to repair it? Perhaps maybe there was someone in the congregation that would tinker with old pianos and organs, and would they allow him to fix this beautiful instrument? Well, no, of course not. You would want the best repairman you could find. You'd probably call the manufacturer of the organ itself and say, send us your master repairman. This is such a beautiful and expensive piece of equipment. We can't risk just anybody playing around with it. Send us the best that you have. Or maybe you have a gold watch that has some sentimental value for you and your family. Maybe your great-grandfather bought it from Ireland, and it's a priceless heirloom. And for some reason, it stops ticking. You wouldn't touch it, would you? You wouldn't try to pull the back off of it and play around with the gears? Even if you have had some experience with old clocks, you'd want an expert craftsman to examine it and fix it professionally. What if your wife is ill and needs surgery? You take her to the best specialist you can find, right? Oh, but you say, I like biology, and I like anatomy. I think you could say, I have successfully dissected a frog in high school. Maybe I even got an A in my college anatomy class.
Well, Scott could do that.
That's true. Very few of us in this church would consider performing surgery in the kitchen on your wife.
Yeah.
You'd only trust her to a specialist.
I don't think Scott would do it.
Scott could do it. Scott's the only one that I would trust to perform surgery in the kitchen.
I don't think he would do it. He's too smart for that.
What about ourselves? When something goes wrong in our lives, when we get tired, who do we turn to for repairs? When our lives are damaged or broken, or we're left lonely, depressed, bitter, divorced, afraid, whom do we turn to when our lives need fixing? Do we go to the master, to a specialist, a professional? Not usually. Don't we turn to anything else? Don't we oftentimes look for anyone that will help us when we're down? We'll talk to our neighbors. We'll talk to our friends. We'll dump on the bartender. Ask me how I know. Or worse yet, we trust some amateur's advice, or the stars, or a television psychic, or Dear Abby. People are hurting, and they're looking for someone and something to help them. They're tired. Why Why are there so many, every town, the television, the psychics or the palm readers, people are, or the horoscopes in the paper. I mean, why, it's always laughable. I heard a guy say today, he said, the crazy thing about psychics are, why are they still in business? If you're truly psychic, why haven't you just played the lottery and retired?
That's true.
Jesus says, and still says, come to me. Come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. If your life is broken, if you're hurting and in need of repair, bring your life to Jesus. He is the divine physician who can heal. He is the master repairman representing your manufacturer. He will examine your life and he will fix it. There's a poem called The Touch of the Master's Hand, and it shows us what can happen if we commit ourselves to a stronger, more skillful hands than our own. Listen to this poem. "'Twas battered and scarred, and the auctioneer thought it scarcely worth his while to waste much time on an old violin, but he held it up with a smile. What am I bid for this old violin? Who will start the bidding for me? $1? $1, then $2, only $2? $2. Who will make it $3? $3? $3 once, do I hear $4? $3 twice, going, and almost gone, but no. From the room far back, an old gray-haired man arose, and coming forward and taking the bow, and wiping the dust from the old violin, and tuning the loosened strings, he played a melody sweet and pure as the caroling angel sings. The music ceased, and the auctioneer, with a voice that was quiet and low, and said, now what am I bid for this old violin? And he held it up with its bow. $1,000, someone cried. 2,000. Who will make it 3? 3,000 once, 3,000 twice, and gone, said he. And the people cheered, and oh, how they cried. What changed its worth, came the quick reply. 'Twas the touch of the master's hand. Many a man with life out of tune, all battered and scarred by sin, is auctioned cheap to the thoughtless crowd, much as the old violin. A mess of soup, some cheap advice, a game, and he travels on. He is going once, going twice, going, almost gone. But then the master comes, and the foolish crowds, they don't understand the worth of a man's soul and the change that's wrought by the touch of the master's hand. Yes, our hurts, our brokenness, all of our problems are best taken care of by the master. Others may give us encouragement, a listening ear, a word of truth, but it is to Jesus, to the master, that we primarily should go. He says, come to me. Let the weary come to me. I'm tired. I'm so tired. Let us take a look at our verse today. It says, come to me, all who labor and are heavy laden. And what does he say? I will give you rest. A German tourist was asked once, what impresses you most about the United States? His answer, the fact that you are a tired people impresses me a great deal. Clerks, wives, friends, teachers, youths, leaders, everyone is so tired. Could it be that he's right? I mean, look around. Look at the people that you're coming in contact with. Is America tired? Have we stewed and schemed and studied and slaved only to win the badge of guilt and fear, ulcers and psychiatric appointments? Look at our society and see if he's right. Look at our homes. Here we find divorce destroying thousands of homes a day. Marriages that began as optimistically as a running romance end in hate or indifference and quitters. It would seem that we are not too easy to live with. Other homes that manage to remain intact display no real zest or creativity or pizzazz. The mother and father both work so much so they can give their family the best and have all the extras, but they come home at the end of the day so tired, so ill. There's a loss of communication that results. The homes begin to deteriorate into another laundry, hotel, and filling station. Arguments occur more and more frequently. Children run away. Suddenly all those extras that the Joneses have really don't mean that much anymore, do they? So what do we turn to? We've got a lot of options. We take drugs. These are drugs that accuse us of being tired too. Pick-me-ups, right? We take pick-me-ups. They're a morning must. A little toddy for the body in the afternoon. And of course, the tension reliever at night. Do you know that it takes about 51 million sleeping pills to put America to sleep every night?
Wow.
Tired of coping with ourselves, we rely on other things to see us through. Bored or worn out with reality, we escape into some other form of chemical coping mechanism. Isn't it a paradox that Americans now have more leisure time than ever before? And yet we are so bone weary we cannot face life, get involved, and reach out to others? It's amazing. Think of what our ancestors, grandfathers, great-grandfathers, those generations, they worked all day, what, to provide food for their table. I mean, you know, working in the fields, and if they didn't have that, I mean, we have such an incredible luxury. I mean, it's like, oh, I have to go to the grocery store again. I mean, it's like, it's such an inconvenience. Oh man, it's 20 minutes away. I'm so tired of having to go to the grocery store. Then we go to the grocery store, and it's just like bountiful. I mean, anything you want. Anything and everything. Things that don't even, you know, I mean, I'm like, you know, it's amazing. You know, go to the produce, I haven't even heard of half of these types of fruits. I'm like, oh, this looks interesting. I wonder what you use this for. I mean, it's like, it's wild what we have. And it's like, oh, the 20 minutes to the grocery store, we can't handle it. We have more leisure time than ever before. Our society no longer has time for the rehabilitation of problem people. So we stuff them away neatly in cages. Throw away the key. We're busy riding our motorcycles, fishing, vacationing at our second home, and golfing. And yet we're so busy and so tired. A more affluent society has never existed. A healthier people has never lived. A more tired race of people has never breathed. Suicide is probably the most extreme form of national criticism. You know that suicide is the #3 killer of teenagers. It ranks high in adult deaths too. This was a suicide note. I'm kind of glad the youth group aren't in here because it's a little bit morbid. But I thought it was very appropriate. A college student wrote this suicide note. It said, "Dear America, I'm tired. Tired of puppets instead of people. Of people with green hair and pierced tongues, rave parties, and casual sex. People who drop soliloquies, carefully labeled intelligence. I'm tired of people who play the dating game like tips at the racetrack. I'm tired of seeing people used because it's only a game. Of people who turn love into a social grace and women into a piece of beef. Of watching sincerity fester into smoothness. I'm tired of cynics who label themselves realists. Tired of minds rotting into indifference. Of people bored because they are afraid to care. Of intellectual games of ring around the rosy. I'm tired of people who have to be entertained. Tired of people looking for kicks with a bottle in one hand and a condom in the other. Of girls proud of knowing the score and snickering about it. Of girls intent on learning the score. I'm tired of sophisticated slobs. Tired of drunkards and dopeheads who are never more than spaced or tight. Of people who tinker with sex until it's smut. Of people whose understanding goes no deeper than neat, sharp, or cool. I'm tired of people who scream they hate it, but won't leave it because they're lazy. I'm tired of people with nothing better to do than to glue their days together with alcohol or dope. I'm tired of people embarrassed at honesty and love and knowledge. I'm tired, very tired, so goodbye America." I know it's dark, but could it be that any of us are tired like that young man in the letter? How about you? Do you get tired? Are you hard to live with? Too tired to get involved, to do your work well, to live righteously. Then what's the answer? What are we called to do? Who are we called to be? Where's the hope? Well, the hope is this. Come to Him. Come to Christ. He will replenish your strength. In the text today, He promises to come to me, all who are weary, who labor, and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. What an awesome promise. Not rest like sleep, but rest for our souls. It's a difference. You wake up in the morning after a good night's sleep and you feel rested, but all your cares and worries are still there. But when you have rest in Christ, things don't have the weight and the power over you. It's different. Isaiah spoke to the people. He said, "Have you not known? Have you not heard? The Lord is the everlasting God, the creator of the ends of the earth. He does not faint or grow weary. His understanding is unsearchable. He gives power to the faint, and to him who has no might he increases strength. Even youth shall faint and be weary, and young men shall fall exhausted. But they who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint. See, that's what we're called to be. We're called to be a people who wait upon the Lord, who trust in His strength, who take His yoke upon us. And then we will be able to accomplish all that He has set out for us to accomplish, and we won't grow weary. We won't get tired. We won't want to give up. It does look like America is tired. Our homes, excessive alcohol, drug abuse, suicide, short tempers, all point an accusing finger at us. And the question is, when will we realize that we have a problem? Will we admit that we are tired and need help? A psychiatric recently stated that a man's greatest problem is in realizing that he has a problem. We're so proud. We try to be self-sufficient. Yet inside we're weak. We tremble. It's always been said that no one can help the alcoholic until he admits he has a problem and asks for help. And I think that's also true with God. That He can't really help us until we admit our need for Him to help us. And we're ready to ask for it. That's why in today's verse, it's interesting that Jesus asked for those to come to Him who admit they're tired. If you know you're tired and you know you're heavy laden, then come to me and I will give you rest. He didn't say, come to me all who you are self-sufficient. He didn't say, come to me all those that are getting along fine. He said, come if you recognize your need. Come to me who labor, and I'll give you rest. So who does He want to come? All who are tired. Do you fit in this category? Do you admit you have a need? And Jesus says, come to me, and I'll give you rest. And then He says, take my yoke. That's an interesting statement. Take my yoke upon you. Learn from me, for I'm gentle and lowly in heart. And you will find rest for yourselves. Why? Because my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Jesus had a little expertise in yoke making, I'm sure. You see, he was a skilled tradesman. He was flashing back to his boyhood years. He was a carpenter for probably some 20 years before he turned into a preacher. His father Joseph taught him the carpenter's trade, and together they ran a little shop in Nazareth. It was located in the poor side of town, down some inconspicuous, dusty little avenue. I think it was a pleasant shop, though, well kept, nestled beneath the shade of an olive tree. From it could be heard the frequent peals of laughter amid the sounds of hammering and sawing. The smell of fresh-cut lumber would fill one's nostrils as they entered the vicinity. And out front, according to legend, there hung a sign that read, "Our yokes fit well." Legend has it that Joseph and Jesus made the best yokes to be found. Even though their shop was inconspicuously located, people came from villages all around just to have their yokes made by Joseph and son. They would tie their big oxen to a tree, step inside for a few moments, and soon emerge with a young boy named Jesus. He would walk over to the oxen, take a few careful measurements. Then a lightweight wood was chosen, and carving and filing was done. Finally, there would be trial fittings. The yoke must fit just right. It could not be too tight, too small, or rough, or heavy. Otherwise, it would gall the oxen's neck. And that would never do, for it would cause the oxen to suffer and inhibit their work. With Joseph and Jesus, you see, it was a matter of reputation, a matter of quality. Their yoke must fit perfectly. And now, fast forward to the last years of Christ's life. Here we find a carpenter no longer fashioning yokes for animals. He now fashions them for men. Likewise, these yokes are still made to fit well. They're smooth and light of weight. In fact, they're still tailor-made for each one of us. You see, all of us have known the discomfort of ill or loose-fitting garments, right? You ever pull something out of your closet and you're like, oh, let's try this on, and it's like, this is not working. When a shirt's too tight, it restricts us. Pants that are too large get in the way. Hand-me-down shoes seldom fit perfectly. Why? Because they've already been formed to fit someone else's feet. But when you're small or in need, you must suffer the looseness or tightness that pinches or blisters your feet, right? Jesus, I tell you today, has a special garment for each of you. It's called the yoke. And he promises that it won't be a hand-me-down. It is made especially for you, tailor-made. Therefore, it will fit each of you just right. It will not be too large or confining. He says, take my yoke. Challenges us. Take my yoke upon you. And he promises that it's easy. My yoke is light. My burden is light. This yoke that Christ wants you to wear represents your calling in life. It is true that God has work for each of us to do. And better than anyone else in the world are we qualified to do the work that God has called us to do. God takes into consideration our strengths, our weaknesses, and he matches you with a calling and a vocation. And this is to become your yoke. It is well fitting, and it will not under-challenge you, nor overbear you. To carry this yoke means to carry out God's divine plan for your life. And when you carry out God's plan for your life, when you're submissive to his will, you experience peace, joy, freedom, all the things that John 10 talks about as the abundant life. Tired. Where do we turn? One man wrote, when I was a freshman at Furman University, I played football. The coach issued me the necessary pieces of equipment. Each protective pad fit well except for the helmet. The helmet was too small. After several days of practice, I began to get headaches and perform poorly. I asked for a new helmet, one that would fit properly. And I was told, unfortunately, that's the best we can do. We don't have any others. Several days later, this guy writes, I suffered a concussion, and my football career was ended. Fortunately, professional football teams take way better care of their athletes than do small college teams, at least during that time. When a player reports he is suited up with pads that fit perfectly, helmets are especially important. Many times, an athlete's helmet is tailor-made just for him. Such helmets can cost as much as $1,000. But the cost is worth it. Why? Because a well-fitting uniform ensures the player's maximum safety and performance. I think God is like that. He is concerned with our safety and performance. Amen. He wants us to achieve our maximum capability as a person. So that's why he offers us equipment that's a perfect fit for us. A yoke that is tailor-made for each one of us. He knows that if you work the job that he has designed for you, marry the person that he chooses for you, surround yourself with the friends that uplift you, and so on, you will be at your best. Physically, emotionally, intellectually, and spiritually. See, we look around the world today, we look around our country today, we look around and we see tired people. They're under-challenged and overborne by their walk of life. Stress, self-content, and broken relationships are just but a few of the symptoms that life is being lived out of the will of God. Their yokes do not fit well and they suffer. Like the college football helmet or the hand-me-down, their jobs are not right for them perhaps. Their vocation is too tight and confining or too loose and callous, and they're getting hurt. See, America needs to come to Jesus. But we first need to come to Jesus. We need to take his yoke. Here, Jesus is saying, try this one on for size. See if it doesn't fit you just right. Hundreds of years ago, St. Augustine tried God's yoke on his life, and he remarked, he says, in his will is our peace. We of the Christian faith are still finding God's will for our lives. See our joy, feel our peace, witness our smiles, attest to the fact that we are loved and can ourselves love. We are not tired. We have strength for every task. We have tried his yoke on for size, and behold, it fits perfectly. A young dog once was spinning around and around in circles when an older dog sauntered up and said, "What are you doing?" He asked, "I'm chasing my tail," the young dog replied. "You see, happiness is in my tail. When it wags, I'm happy. When it drops, I'm sad. Happiness is in my tail, so if I catch it, I will always be happy." So he spun around and around and around, trying to bite the elusive tail. Finally, all out of puff, he sagged to the ground, tired out. The old dog, still watching all of this, said, "You know, when I was your age, I used to chase my tail as well. But one day I found that if I just went about my business, happiness followed right along behind me. See, today, God's Word calls out to any and all tail-chasing Christians, happiness-seeking people, worn-out people. Jesus' call to each of us says, "Come to me if you're tired, and I will give you rest. But I'll also give you a yoke. Don't worry, it's going to fit you perfectly." You see, Jesus will not only save us from our sins, He will save us to our yoke. God knows that a man needs to be saved from something to something. He wants to deliver you from the things that make you tired, those things that you're doing which are outside of His will, our sins, and He will save us from those things. But He wants to save us to something. Give us something to do, a purpose, a yoke. Something to busy our life with the things of His will. You see, when we follow God's will, happiness will follow along right behind us all the days of our life. Amen. Let's ask the Lord to